Welcome back to our panel series, Conversations on Change. As always, it's great to see all of you. I'm Adeline from Change At All, and I'll be your moderator. Let me start by sharing a little bit about us. We are Change At All, and as you can guess from our name, we're a boutique consulting firm that specializes in change and transformation. We partner and work with clients in various industries from all over the world. And joining us today are experts in the area of stakeholder engagement and customer experience journeys, Mohit Kumar and Poornima Parameswaran Batish. Let's find out a little bit more about them right now. Poornima is the founding member of FairEdge, which is the world's first comprehensive and integrated multi-stakeholder experiences tech platform. She is a passionate thought leader with over 27 years of deep expertise in the areas of human resources, consulting, diversity, equity and inclusion, and gender equitable workplaces. With extensive experience with corporates like Godrej Consumer, Airtel, and IBM India, Poornima was Global Vice President of Talent Management at Microland. She was part of the C2 India Women's Network, and she's a speaker, jury, and mentor at various forums like Sandvik, Gender Diversity Awards, and more. She's a winner of the Simratna Award from NHRD Symbiosis for her excellence in HR. And she has also been quoted in the global Dell Women Entrepreneurship Report. And she was recognized for her innovative venture of a first ever magazine for working women, Women at Work. So let's welcome her to the panel right now. Hi, Poornima. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Adeline.
And now let's talk about our next expert, Mohit. Mohit is a business-focused HR leader with a dynamic 31-year career of steering organizations through complex transitions while building an empowered and talented workforce in cross-cultural environments in highly competitive industries. With his proven expertise in defining organizational structures and human capital requirements to align HR function with business goals, providing the catalyst to enhance capability, enable culture, optimize performance, and drive revenue and profit growth. Mohit is also a trusted advisor to senior management, and he is a human-centered change agent who develops organizational initiatives that accelerate the achievement of business goals with an eye on the triple bottom line. That means the profit, people, planet bottom line. Hello, Mohit. Welcome to the conversation.
Thanks for the kind words, Adeline, and it's great to be here.
We're really happy to have you both here with us. We are living in a hyper-connected age where experience is the new currency. Along with evolving customer and stakeholder expectations, we are also evolving the ways in which we engage and interact with each other. The organizations that prioritize human-centered design are also the ones that will thrive with longevity. So how do we build brand legacy and organizational longevity with stakeholder trust and immersive customer experience journeys? Let's find out now. So let's start by defining some things for our audience. Poornima and Mohit, how would you define an experience economy? What is an experience economy? Maybe Poornima can go first, ladies first.
Sure. Thanks, Adeline. Um, so for me, an experience economy is when I purchase or I consume any product or service, or I'm a part of it as an employee, as a candidate, as an investor, as a vendor. It's about how I'm made to feel. And that one line, I think, holds the key to one word, Adeline, you used earlier is trust. If you, as a company, as an organization, as a business, make me feel a part of it, that whatever you're doing makes me feel comfortable and I get the value as promised, I think that is the power of experiences. And that's how that one line for me has defined experiences with all the brands that I've been a part of or interacted with ever, Adeline.
I love that.
Yeah. So, Purva, you really hit the nail on the head. And building on that, so what it will be, it will be about shifting the lens. What I'm offering, what I'm selling, to what experiences stakeholders are looking for, be it employees first, be it customers, be it investors, be it vendors, what experiences they're looking for, what is their need, what uh, trust, respect, partnership, co-creation, immersion. So perhaps that is where the experience economy is headed. Uh, a respectful, trusting, co-creating partnerships together.
I really appreciate how your answers also have that overlap of being very emotive. There's a lot of evocative words being used, and it's really all about the emotion of it, the experience of it. I do agree about that. But I'm also curious to find out when each of you discovered that beyond products or services, the customer experience journey was actually a key competitive differentiator. Poonima, would you like to take that question?
Absolutely, Adeline. And I'm going to keep using the word trust a few times. And I think that is where one goes beyond the product or the service. When you actually buy, we keep reading in advertisements, newspapers, we are the most trusted company, whether it's employers, whether it's customers, you see it in airport billboards, you see it on, magazines everywhere, right? Now, that one word has a lot of depth behind it. What does trust really mean for someone who's transacting with a business? For customers, it could mean, the product or the service that you're selling is of a certain quality, of a certain standard. It delivers what it's meant for. But there's one interesting fact that we uncovered when we dug deep on experiences, and that is more than one third of the impact or the trust that is built in a brand or a service is because of the experiences that are delivered on it. And that puts a lot more weight on, Adeline, what you rightly put as emotive. And the experience that I have with the product or the service as I consume it, as I live through the brand, as I stay and grow my career through it, that is really what distills the great from the good and the also ran, in my opinion. Back to you, Adeline.
Yes, that's right. I do agree about that. And also it does what we were talking about, it does build that's how you build brand legacy, that's how you build brand loyalty as well. And thanks for sharing, Punima. And actually, I want to expound on this a little bit more, talking about competitive differentiation. Um, we've talked about the consumer side of things, the customer side of things. How about Mohit? Could you elaborate on what it means for, let's say, an organization to compete with experience? What does it mean to compete with experience in the experience economy?
Absolutely. So there's a competition for everything, competition for talent, competition for market share, competition for investment. Right? So all this, how do we leverage the experiences? It begins with working on the experiences within the organization. So as we articulated our purpose, that is, we make the materials that make the world greener, smarter, stronger. There's an emotional connect in that with all stakeholders and especially with the employees. We first begin the journey with the employees. That is, how do we create different experiences that are more in line with the aspirations that we have. We were primarily a metals upstream company, looking forward to move towards downstream organization. What it means, that means we have to understand what products are needed by the customers, and it is not possible the way we were operating earlier. This is what we produce, and this is what we as a commodity. That means the mindset shift with respect to engaging customers much deeper. understanding the entire life cycle, uh, equipping our own people to understand their journeys, right? Understand where the value can be created and build trust to co-create solutions together. So, for example, now we are moving into commercial vehicles, personal mobility, construction. All this is new for upstream metals major. Best way is that you co-create with the respectable, deep emotional partnerships with the customers. What what experiences investors are looking for? They're looking forward to transparency. They're looking forward to the ESG metrics. They're looking forward to the governance metrics. They're looking forward to whether we are contemporary with respect to going more green, uh, being conscious of the impact that we're making to the community around, being conscious of the way we deal with different stakeholders. So that transparency is being made available to the investors. They actually come to our events. We had a big brand event where we reposition a brand that is engineering better futures. Over there, we had vendors also, we had investors also. Of course, the customers and the employees were very much there. What are the experiences that vendors are looking forward to? Again, respect, trust, and the transparency which is technology enabled. This is what we are attempting, and fortunately, we are attempting it successfully with respect to the businesses of from the upstream to downstream to specialty chemicals. That is where we are able to keep pace with what is changing, what is expected, and reinvent ourselves in line with the experiences that people are looking forward to.
Thanks for that. That was very interesting. And I like how you also talked about, keeping up via shifting your mindset. It's just a little shift in there makes a lot of difference. And actually, Mohit, you mentioned something, you mentioned metrics. So I'm very curious to know about your thoughts on this, on that note. On based on experience-based strategies, how do you measure the success of experience-based strategies? What would be the most important metrics? Because it seems like such an intangible kind of initiative or strategy, right? Are there any such metrics? Maybe Poornima, would you like to take that on?
Sure. So, metrics, it's an interesting conversation, Adeline, because I think there's always this perpetual debate between numbers and what's behind the numbers. And I think for experiences or an experience-led economy, as you said earlier, I don't think it's any different. So while Mohit spoke about metrics, I think he mentioned a lot of other factors that go behind building, the brand trust, the perception, and getting everybody together. So, Adeline, I believe, and in the work that I have done both in my corporate career and post that, and now with Fairage, metrics is essential. Metrics are important. Uh, they are the first level of indicators, whether we're going north or south. They also give us a very quick view of, what's working and what's not working well. The only trouble starts when you look only at metrics and for example, in a board meeting, in a leadership meeting, if you look only at the metrics and not what's behind it, that's when I think trouble starts in paradise, so to speak, right? You have great numbers, or you have mediocre numbers, and when you slowly start uncovering it, that's when you realize that the soft aspects or the non-quantifiable aspects, which I call qualitative yet measurable, are what start taking shape. So, for example, for experience, typically leaders and organizations measure NPS, Net Promoter Score. They measure CSAT, customer satisfaction. They measure employee satisfaction, ESAT. Some of them measure vendor satisfaction, and whole host of such metrics, right? But when you dig a little deeper, what emerges is all of these metrics is a result of the experiences they've had along what I call as the experience architecture. And for me, there are two pillars to the architecture. One is the design part of it, and one is the delivery part of it. Design essentially means, your programs, your systems, your technology, your infrastructure on how you're set to, run a program, run a process. Delivery is where the humanization comes in. It's people, it's the behavior, it's the communication. So you might have great processes, you might have amazing systems, and you might be the best technology company in the world, in terms of adoption. But if your people, whether they are selling, whether they are managing other people in the company, if they don't manifest or exhibit what we call as the right symbols, right behaviors, then the entire architecture falls. So even if one of the two pillars wobble, it's like a visual, the entire, frame crumbles. So for me, Adeline, it's important to look beyond metrics. Metrics are always important and will be, not to take away from them, but looking beyond it to go for deeper insights, specifically for experiences, because experience is a journey. It's not a one-point shot that we have. It's not a point-in-time measure. It's an ongoing, real thing that people feel with the product or the brand there. So that, Adeline, is my view on metrics. And yeah, sometimes I think that's a passion subject I can go on, but I hope that answers to what you were asking me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's such an oxymoron as well. It seems so contradictory, right? Qualitative yet measurable and definable. But you really simplified it for us and broke it down very well. Thanks for that. I also appreciated the analogy of it being like architecture and held up by the pillars. And I think everyone really appreciates how you simplified it for us. How about you, Mohit? Anything to add on this?
Yeah, so I totally resonate. I just add that experience is about not what we talk, it's about what we walk. And that is what the journey has been in our part of the organization. Sorry for this. Um, in our part of the thing, that is, how do we authentically deliver what we are intending to deliver, actually? That's the.
So I'm really hearing a lot of these same words that seem to be really important in the experience economy, like transparency and trust, and basically being able to deliver, as you said, Mohit, on what it is that you want to, on the message that you want to convey. So I'm really happy to hear all this resonating. But actually, that leads me to my next question because we did talk about before, Mohit, you touched on organizational goals. So I'm very curious to get your opinion on this. So how does one actually leverage the culture of an organization in order to enhance a multi-stakeholder sort of experience? Would you like to take that?
So, building up from what Poonima said, that is walking the culture, making the experiences authentically. We have been primarily an upstream organization, a traditional organization, right? As we, in our business strategy, as we made shift towards moving into adjacencies, that is specialty chemicals, specialty alumina, and exploring blue skies, downstream, green energy, and all those things, the shift was important all around, and it has to begin at home first. So we began with the purpose articulation. That is, we make the world greener, smarter, and stronger. There's an emotional appeal around it. Taking care of the basics. Right? That is, if you are moving out from your cabin, are you switching off the light? Yeah, that is what living the purpose is actually. Right. We also experimented with the behaviors that are no, that are functional and the behaviors that are dysfunctional. We invested in inspirational leadership. We invested in technology and training for meritocracy. How do we be conscious and the unconscious biases, and how we can leverage technology in dealing with all stakeholders, including employees and vendors and customers and everybody. The use of more and more of digitalization. We invested in mindfulness because it is not about the entire wall. It's about the bricks in the wall. So if individually I can evolve myself to the next level, and together we evolve the organization to the next level, right? During COVID period, we experimented with resilience. That what are the behaviors which are resilient individually and collectively as an organization. Having done all that, it was time to take a stock of what is working well and what is not working well. The experience economy, and that is where we went to the people all across our plants, listen to them through the stories, through the games. Around 1,000 stories captured in terms of what has worked well and what needs to work further better. Right? We came across the enabling defaults that are there in the organization. For example, crisis glue. So when COVID was there, everybody was uh, creating the fantastic experience of teamwork and seamlessness and responsiveness. But you can't have a crisis always. So what do you do when the crisis is not there? So we came across disabling defaults. For example, competition framework. I know it all. I know it the best. Yeah. I know it before you know. Yeah. The way we are all conditioned to compete, right? Collaborate. Also, the feedback frame as a disabling default. That is, I give feedback, but thereafter I'll not walk with you towards your next level growth. So this is what we diagnosed, listening to the people, sharing, understanding their experiences and what experiences they are looking forward to. And then we decentralize our culture journey. We ask them what is that they're looking forward to, and we came across with the behaviors that they want to see in the organization. We call them alert behaviors. That is, A is accountable, L is learning fast and failing fast, the psychologically safe space to experiment. E is empowerment. As the organization is growing, I need to take decisions faster, where the rubber meets the ground, where the customer interaction is happening, where the employee interaction is happening, where the vendor partner interaction is happening. So how do we create more of empowerment by design? And third piece was things which are dysfunctional. How do we get rid of that? So for the first piece, the behaviors that we want to see more often, we designed a rewards and recognition scheme, simple one, a simple card, where if you see me exhibiting a behavior, and it can be anybody, I can give it to a peer, I can give it to a team member, I can give it to my boss. If I see somebody exiting that behavior, I go up to him, tell him that this is what the behavior he has demonstrated, and this is what is making a difference to the organization outcomes because of his demonstrating that behavior, the teamwork or whatever. The second piece, the empowerment piece. The empowerment piece, we sat down with different teams. What are the decisions which are being taken at the senior level? What meaningful decisions can be delegated? And the design part is that how do you ensure that that delegation experience is successful? That means we call it my people are. That is giving them experiences, giving them empowerment by coaching them. What decisions were delegated? What decisions are going right? What decisions can go better? What competencies need to be built? Who all can help in the journey? What all resources they need? What can I do as a manager to help you in succeeding in the delegated decisions? That's the empowerment by design. A third piece was the most critical piece. That is, how do I get rid of the behaviors that are not there? That means you need to give a feedback which is not on the positive behaviors, which is on the negative behaviors. And that those negative behaviors also came from our employees only. That is the behaviors like in the meeting, I'll only speak. In the meeting, I'll not take the opinions of others. Uh, do what I say, right? Copy it to me while you're communicating to somebody, right? So all these behaviors came from the 12 behaviors, the derailers that came from them. But it was difficult to give feedback because the organization is not used to giving feedback on the not so positive behaviors. And if they give, then they falter in that they may end up destroying the other person. But most of these behaviors are unconscious or subconscious, right? Then we experimented with that meditation and what is the higher self calling you? What is that it is celebrating about what you have become, and what is the need? What is the higher self want you to shift the behavior to? Visualize that, and then in a work group, share what is being celebrated by the higher self and what is the shift that the higher self is looking forward to for you to become your next version. That worked. That worked. That created trust. That created the space for heart. That created a space for care. And that is where the feedback process of what is not working well in the organization, what needs to shift. So that got created. That experience is being now replicated across the organization, the circle of trust or gift of trust. Building on that, we are engaging the different stakeholders, customers, much deeper relationships, vendor partners, their annual meets, their 6 monthly meets, which get organized for the vendors, which get organized for the investors. The board is also present. When we had our brand event, when we brand relaunch from what it was to now what it is plus plus, that is re-engineered futures, we had invited our customers as part of that journey. Before that, we had taken the inputs from them. What brand messaging that you're looking forward to? So that's the emotional connect, the much deeper relationships, upskilling our people. That is, we are training our people not only on solutioning skills, but also on microeconomics, so that you are able to understand the entire journey of the customer and be a partner in their success. Yeah. It's not only about selling, it's about what is that the customer is looking forward to. Similarly, what is that the vendor is looking forward to? Meritocracy, transparency, what is the technology enablement over there, and creating those experiences consistently for our employees so that they can provide those experiences to other stakeholders. So that's the culture journey, and we are taking the help from Fair Edge in terms of measuring those impact, those and working on what we're hearing more and more from the
Oh,
people.
wow. Wow. That is amazing. And we talk about a multi-stakeholder experience. This is really a multi-stakeholder experience because you're talking about in the thousands, right? And I appreciate what you were saying as well, that it's all a process of mutual, what I would say, mutual listening, right? It's giving and receiving, and everyone is just listening to each other. You also mentioned something about technology. So that's actually something else that I wanted to talk about. We can't enter a conversation these days without the topic of AI creeping in. In fact, I think in the chat box, there is already a question and a comment about AI. So I would like to get an insider's perspective on this. Poonima, for instance, Fair Edge is, as we said, it's an integrated tech platform. So, would you have any examples to share of how digital tools, such as database technology, are actually shaping stakeholder or customer experience journeys today?
Absolutely. Thanks, Adeline, for that question. And yeah, like you rightly said, I don't think any conversation today, is complete without tech and AI. But I just want to take, a minute before I go there to what Mohit said, and just sort of connect to what I'm going to talk about now. Having seen, the transformation that Mohit is speaking about, I think he and his leadership team and the entire team at the organization has done a fantastic job, because just the way you heard him narrate, I think the important part is to carry the strategy with the execution together, because in a lot of cultural transformations that we see in organizations, the ability to put a plan is great, but the ability to execute to the last mile, to the last person on the ground, I think is what makes a difference. That's something I think they've done beautifully well. Second is, I think the ability to deliver, and I think Mohit, as you were speaking, some of it, of course, I've heard from you and the team earlier, but the ability to, and Adeline, you used the word emotive earlier, so I'm just bringing us back to that, the cognitive and the emotive, which is both what is the process plus, mindfulness, care, resilience. These are all intrinsic factors. So no cultural transformation is successful without both of these walking hand in hand. And I think they've done a beautiful job of this. And last, Adeline, to what you said, I think the ability to carry multiple stakeholders And I think it shows and reflects in the way, anything that you pick up about the organization. Mohit, kudos to you and the leadership team and the entire team who did this. I think you're able to see those transformations. Sometimes cultural transformation is great on a presentation deck in a room. But here, when you actually go and talk to people or meet people on the ground, even just outside in the world, I think you see and hear, similar language. So I think that takes a lot of effort and time. And I think they've stayed at it, they've stayed the cause, because no cultural transformation is easy. Plus, the beautiful fact is, and I'm going to bring this up, Adeline, in the technology conversation and the point that you asked me, ability to carry multiple stakeholders with you, because all of us intuitively focus on customers and sales, because that's why we survive, right? I mean, that's where the survival comes from. But little do we realize or pause to think that you cannot deliver a great customer experience without having happy employees or vendors who are willing to stand by you in times of good or bad. And I think that is the impact of multi-stakeholder experiences, which we speak about making it real. And I think, Mohit and what he said is a great example of that. And now, Adeline, I'll just pick up on the technology piece, and then I'll just try and, bring some of the points that Mohit said to pertinent to that. And like you said, I see a question, on the chat as well. I think there's a question about, younger generations. For me, it's just beyond generations, right? It's also, even if, we are Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomers, alpha, whatever, I think today, with the digital space we are in, we are all expecting hyper personalized experiences. And ironically, hyper personalized experiences cannot be delivered at scale without technology. However, you want to make it human, however, you want to make it personal, we have to use technology to take it to scale. Otherwise, it doesn't become a repeatable, sustainable, consistent process. Because, again, I think, like you and Mohit said, uh, transparency, respect, dignity, all of these, I want it over and over again. I just don't want it one time as a consumer or an employee. I want
Yeah.
it continuously. And that is where technology has become a huge power for us. But at the same time, technology cannot replace. I still am of the belief that artificial intelligence will take a long time to replace human intelligence, and there is a big delta there. But having said that, I think one of the a few tracks that we picked up on technology, and we use it very well, and I've seen organizations using it very well, is for example, when you are listening to experiences, when people are giving or talking about their experiences, ability to speak up in the language of your choice is a huge inclusion. I don't always have to give feedback in English. I can give it in any language of my choice, whether I'm in the country or whether I'm, across the world. And that makes a huge difference, because your consumers are not all English speaking people across the world or any country most of the times. So multilingual, and finally converting it into, English to be able to make insights for the company is one small piece of technology that has made a huge difference. The second, one such small example, another example I'd make is a voice, speech to text. And I think that's an amazing use of technology and AI, and different other models that run behind it. Today, because of WhatsApp, a lot of other such platforms, people prefer to speak than to text. And this is, while I always think younger generations have the advantage, but I think, to be fair, I'm even seeing older generations, baby boomers, preferring voice over text, because they find it so much easier to type than to talk than to type. And that is where I see technology coming in and playing a big role in including the baby boomers right to Gen Alpha. And, I don't know what is the latest generation in the workforce called. Last I heard was Alpha, but, I'll just sort of give the benefit of doubt to whoever, knows and has asked that question. So that I think is are two examples. I'm just taking a shift to this, coupled with these now small technological advances, is the arrival of agentic AI, which combines the power of artificial intelligence with agents workflow. And that is a potent combination for organizations who really want to get insights and inputs into the experience economy. Using agents, you can mine large data almost real time. I mean, some of the stuff that we do, Adeline, today is what used to take 1 week for a human being takes, I don't know, 60 seconds. So just look at the release of time, and obviously the ability to consume so much of data. Human beings also go through their psychological state of mind, fogging, good days, bad days. AI, except for internet, I think everything else keeps them running. So that's where I think large amount of data gets processed to give you insight. So for me, technology plays a huge part of the experience. You said change economy. It is a part of it. But I'd just like to, close with one caveat. This is, if technology is not used in context, and it is not used with a balance of people and their intelligence, then it doesn't serve the purpose it is meant to be. So that's where I keep technology. It's an enabler, but it can't take over the entire process. That's how I'd sum up the whole
Thank you,
point.
Poonima. I really appreciated your answer because you also focused on something that people don't tend to realize. Actually, technology it can be very inclusive. It doesn't have to be divisive at all. It can actually, like you said, bring together multiple stakeholders, multiple generations of stakeholders and cross boundaries in that way. And I also appreciated you used the words cognitive and intuitive together. It did remind me of our most recent, our previous conversations on change session was about that very topic, balancing AI and what is human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. So I think I really appreciate how you articulated that so well. We actually have 20 minutes left in the conversation and already quite a few responses in the chat box. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently this time, and I will open up our Q&A earlier rather than later in our previous sessions because of all the excitement that is already happening in our chat box. But I would like to, but before that, I would like to ask one last question to each of you, Mohit and Poonima. So looking to the future, how this space of experience economy is going to evolve in the next few years, what advice would you give for any organizations or any CEO who is new to this space of experience strategy? What advice would you give to them? And if you could distill this advice into a 3-step guide, what would it be? I'm sure everyone is really curious to know and find out. Maybe
Shall I
Mohit,
go?
would you like to go first?
All right. So, whether it's advice to CEO or whether it's advice to all of us, because all of us are CEOs of the experience that we are creating and managing. So it's about, first will be shifting the lens. That is, instead of what I'm offering to what is the experience being uh, and how to understand that empathetically. Right? How do we listen deeply, get the insights, be in the shoes of the stakeholders. So that will be the first advice to all of us. All of us are CEOs in our own ways. Right? Um, the second will be that how do we create the experience engine working systemically, that is integrating all the functions, integrating all the processes, systems, culture, strategy to deliver that experience which is being asked for, right? And third is that is not to be a perfectionist, but to go the agile way, experiment, success, scale it up, right? So that is what will be the uh, advice or words of some suggestions to the stakeholders.
Thanks so much for that. I've typed your advice into the group chat as well if anyone is interested to see it in writing. Poonima?
Yeah, I think I'll just add on, Mohit, some great points there. Um, uh, Experience for me is the way you know experiences is by, the way you know what kind of experiences you're delivering is by listening. And Adeline, you used that word earlier. So some of the points that I have in my mind, I'll talk to is about listening. So the first step, I think the leader, the CEO, or like Mohit said, everybody is a leader in their own right and might, is how do you listen? Do you listen only, when you ask questions and you listen, or you listen continuously real time? Because experiences are not point in time. Experiences are continuous. So if your listening is point in time, you are you are asynchronized, you're not synchronized, and you will miss a lot if your listening is not working along with your experiences. So for me, that's number one. Number two would be, who all do you listen to? Traditionally, conventionally, we listen to one stakeholder, customer, or an employee. I think ESAT, CSAT, NPS are very strong, metrics we've seen around for a long time. But I think, like Mohit mentioned, and we've been talking about, there is a great underlayer of interconnected experiences. Happy employees might make happy customers or might not. We don't know. In fact, we had a very great insight when we figured out that employees were happy, but the customers were not happy. So you're not passing on your happiness to the customer. So there's a problem with where it all stopped, right? So who do you listen to is critical for me, as as my second thing I'd like to have on the table as a leader. And the third, and also, possibly it could also be a starting point and the end point is, for me personally, feedback is a lead indicator of business success. And if you're not measuring it, if you're not talking about it in the leadership discussions on the board table, then sustained success could be a question mark, and you might lose sight of the amazing journey you've built. So that for me, Adeline, would be the third point, or it could be the starting point as well. That's what I think I'd like to add to what Mohit said.
That's great. Thank you for another great answer. And I think you're right. Sometimes the starting point can be the end point too. Sometimes it's quite cyclical in that way. And now that the floor is open, we have a hand raised from Rajesh. Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Rajesh, please feel free to ask your question.
Sure, Adlan. And first of all, thanks for very insightful discussion, Punima and Mohit, for spending the time and giving your experiences. Uh, so one thing which I thought to share was like when you were talking about multilingual and having the experiences designed overall. One thing, as an example, what I realized, because I worked in almost 45 cities in the world and currently in Sydney. So, what I have seen is in some of the, not just the multilingual, but there's one area which was missing or which needs a little bit more was a multicultural dimension knowledge that needs to go into change AI agents, whatever that might be evolving, because in some cultures, a certain way of conversing or certain way of communicating can be seen as something rude, or in some cultures, it is seen as something very normal. One such example was I heard in one of the conversations in uh, one of the person from southern part of India who was sharing his experience saying, "Oh, I just shared to my team that my grandma expired." And he went on off for a couple of weeks and he came back and he explained those things. And we had German, we had UK and other people as part of the team, and there were a couple of people who raised their eyebrows, like, "Oh, how can you say that? So rude and so insensitive to your grandma. You can just say grandma passed by or something like that. But expire, is that a cheese? Is that some food which get expired?" So the cultural differences across the board, how the information is consumed, matters a lot. So that guy literally explained back saying that as part of my culture, expiry is for every living being, and we see everything as the same. Let it be a tree, plant, or humans. So we got used with certain way of presenting that statements and certain usage of words together. So I felt like whenever from a change globalization standpoint, what I have understood is having that cultural knowledge embedded as part of the program, understanding the sensitivities of different cultures, and creating that experiences was also one major thing which I keep it as one other tick mark. Just thought to share that. It was not a question to the wider audience.
No problem. Thanks for sharing. Actually, there were a couple of questions in the earlier in the chat that also got answered during our conversation too. So I'll move on to the later questions. There's a question from Subu. I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. Trust is a word we hear frequently in corporate narratives and leadership discussions. It is fundamental, almost like a hygiene factor. With frequent and sometimes casual use, the word risks losing its meaning for impact. So, in your view, how can an organization ensure that the value associated with the word trust is not diluted? Wow, that's a very powerful question. Who would like to take that on?
So perhaps I can share what we are doing, and I fully agree. That is, and Poonama also said that she'll keep saying the word trust, trust, trust. And trust is not about what we talk, trust is about what we walk. And the issue is that the human beings that we are, whatever we do, many time it is conscious, and many time it is not conscious. Right? We don't know what the experience that we are creating for the other person unconsciously. That is where we need the help from other stakeholders, help from our own team, help from the work group that we are working with. And that is where I share that experiment of gift of trust. That is, what is that you celebrate? Having said that, what is that needs to shift in me to be a better version? It's like having friends at workplace, building that trust continuously. It is not something, it's not an event. It's a way of living. Trust is a way of living. The way we trust families and friends, can we have those trusting relationships, the best friend at workplace? And extending that, can we have that kind of deeper relationships with customers, right? Sometimes we have invited customers over to our business meets, and they have been upfront in telling us that this is what is working well for you, but this is where you need to get contemporary, right? And they can say that because there's a relationship, there's a there's a trust over there, but that relationship, that trust can't be taken for granted. We have to keep investing in those relationships. Similarly, we are building those relationships with our vendor partners, with our investors, with the not taking them around across to our plants, that this is our, they are safety standard, these are green standard, these are ESG standards, building trust, right? By creating more transparency. And of course, as Unma was mentioning, that the dilemma of the experience it at scale and the technology. So if you have to create experience at a scale, transparency at a scale, uh, meritocracy at a scale, of course, the technology integration is something that is needed in hand along with the software aspects that I just talked.
Thanks for that, Mohit. And actually, we have yet another question in the chat box from Niraja Kale. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's a very beautiful name. In your view, how does one look at experience from a brand differentiation lens, especially for organization brands in the same industry where experience tends to follow the leader or the norm? Oh, I think that's a really good question. Poonima, would you like to take this one?
Yes. In fact, I was just going to say I'll possibly try and comment on this. There was a very recent discussion that I'm reminded of, Neeraja. Thanks for your question. So I'll pick up the example of let's say an insurance industry, health insurance or any such insurance, right? If you go to or car sales or any such consumer facing website or app, you try, I don't know, different countries could have different norms, but a large majority of countries that I've tried to do this in, whenever I go to the website or the app to look up a certain product or a service or what is it about, what do they do, I can't go forward after one click without putting my number there. I can't go forward. And I'm hesitant to put my number because I know I'll get a lot of calls, lead gen people will start calling me up saying, you came to our site, you did this. And I brought this up in one of my conversations with one of the industry leaders in their specific industry. And they said, but you know what, Purnima, everybody does it. You look at all our competitors, everybody has this question on their page. So, Neeraja, that's exactly the question that you're asking. Should I just follow the trend and put something mindlessly in my brand journey or experience journey? Or should I take a step back and think, is there a better way to get the information about the person without having them being asked their number in the first 10 seconds? Maybe I let them browse a bit because definitely, if you're not even letting me browse your product or your service, how would I even want to make up my mind whether I want to talk to you or not? And I definitely wouldn't want to talk to someone who's not allowing me to browse the product, but first wants my number. I think that's very clear in my head. So, Neeraja, to answer your question, and it's of course, there are lots of perspectives on this, but my perspective on this is that, and that's what gives you an edge. Can you go deeper on what your experience journey is? So, for example, how many people actually come to your website and drop off the moment the number block pops up? There are enough technological advancements to show you which is the hotspot on your page. Where are you clicking? Where is someone dropping off? Which part of the page have they navigated? So if I figure out that about 80% of my people drop off the moment the number pops up, then you know that this is not the right thing to do, and then you got to question yourself, saying, why is everybody doing this and why is it not working for me? So, and that's where I think the difference starts. So if everybody thinks the same, we all have the same products. It's like maths or science. Those of us who've had amazing maths teachers and not so amazing maths teachers know there's no better subject that is black and white than maths. But I know a lot of people who love maths because of their teachers or hate it because of their teachers. So if a teacher's experience can make you love or hate an absolute black and white subject, just imagine what feelings and experiences can do to your brand or your product. It doesn't matter how many are there, you will always be forward because people trust you, believe in you. And by the way, there's a lot of research that says that people forgive mistakes, small mistakes of big brands, because they trust that brand and they know making mistake is human, that brand will bounce back someday. So that, Neeraja, I hope it aligns to what you were asking. And Adeline, Mohit, if anything you want to add.
I love that answer. Actually, we have about 4 minutes left, and there's one more question. I think we can squeeze one more question in. And Niraja did just say, yes, it does. Thanks, Poonima. So this question is from Subroto. Since you mentioned interlaying of experiences in today's AI world, according to you, how important is the alignment of corporate, consumer, and employer brand for creating the right experiences? I think, Mohit, this is your question to take.
I think Unma also discussed this. That is, if you're creating experiences at scale, we have to use AI and we have to use all kind of technology for what the stakeholder are looking for. They're looking for basically trust, transparency, and respect, right? So one is this is a technology that this is a technology integration that will provide the experience at a scale. The other technology is the inner technology that is ultimately is the human one who is going to interact and create that experience. So working on that, being present, being mindful, active listening. There's something that technology can do, and there's something that we have to do as the human intelligence. Both these things have to work together in providing that superlative heightened experience to all our stakeholders.
Thanks so much for that, Mohit. I think that's another really great answer. And actually, we do have our founder and CEO on the line, KP. He actually, I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, KP, but it's not often that we see you here with your camera on as well. So, any closing remarks for this session, since we happen to have you here with us today?
No, I was just enjoying the conversation. And, when Purnima said about the maths as a topic, I was thinking that I could fall into the later part and blame it on my teacher. But,
Indeed.
amazing insights, I must say, amazing insights. And it's really good to see the difference because, as you talked about the brand and you were responding to Neeraj's question. I strongly believe that a good company and a great company, if you think about that differentiation between the two, it's ultimately coming down to very few things. And the trust and the whole experience part is the biggest part of that. Otherwise, most of the organizations see the same process. Factories are similar. Everything is very similar to each other because they are so standardized. So the only differentiation from one company to the other, good to great, all those differentiations come from experiences that people have, whether it's employee experience, whether it's customer experience, whether it's people, their own experiences working in the organization. And that's the differentiation. So thank you so much, Mohit and Purnima, for bringing it alive and sharing so many different dimensions of the same topic. So thank you so much.
Thanks, KP, for having us over here.
Thank you so much, Karunesh and Adeline and team for having us. An amazing discussion and looking forward to enhancing experiences for all of us in the world.
Yes,
Great conversation, Adeline, today.
thank you so much. And on that note, actually, our time is up. So what a lovely way to end the session. Thank you so much to everyone actually for joining us for yet another session of Conversations on Change. And this time it was so lively and so active. We're really so thankful also to the audience participants. Thanks for keeping it really dynamic today. Thank you so much. And we would also like to give another round of applause for our expert guests, of course, Mohit and Poornima. Thanks again for joining us, for your time and your insights.
And thank you, Adeline, for anchoring this so beautifully.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
good
It was
experience all around.
flawless
And
and innovating on the
yes.
move, actually, right?
I love that. And for those of you who would actually like to revisit this conversation, we do post snippets of it from time to time. So please visit our Change At All pages on Facebook and LinkedIn. We will have posts of the recording, and also please like and follow us if you haven't already to get more updates. And in the meantime, wishing everyone a lovely Thursday and a really good weekend ahead. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everyone. Bye.